A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
My Weird Prompts is a community-driven initiative exploring how AI can fuel curiosity and uncover the fascinating ways our world works. GPU compute for this podcast is generously provided by Modal. Learn more at modal.com.
28 days. We have officially hit the 4-week mark of Operation Epic Fury, and if you've been watching the mainstream news cycles, you might think we are on the verge of a handshake and a signing ceremony. President Trump is out there talking about how negotiations are going very well. He has put a 10-day pause on striking the energy infrastructure, and there is this 15-point peace proposal floating around the halls of the United Nations like a hopeful ghost. But if you look at the actual telemetry of this conflict, if you look at what happened today at the Arak heavy water reactor, the word peace feels like a very carefully constructed smokescreen. We are seeing a massive disconnect between the diplomatic theater in Washington and the kinetic reality on the ground in the Iranian interior.
Corn? Oh goodness, Corn, is that you? I was trying to find that video of the cat playing the piano that your cousin sent me, and now I'm hearing your voice in my ear. Am I on the radio again? I think I pressed the wrong button on this iPad thingy.
Mum? Yeah, you were on the show. You have definitely not found the piano cat. You have dialed into the recording session for My Weird Prompts. But honestly, since you are here, stay a minute. I was just about to dive into why the world feels like it is upside down right now regarding Iran. I could use your perspective, actually. It helps keep me grounded when the data gets too heavy.
Oh, not the Iran business again. It is all so terribly loud, isn't it? I saw on the television this morning that they were bombing a place called Arak. It sounded like a sneeze. I hope everyone got out of the way. They said there was a warning, didn't they? I saw a little ticker tape at the bottom of the screen saying people had to leave their homes. It makes me so anxious, Corn.
There was an urgent evacuation warning, Mum. The Israeli Air Force did not pull any punches today. They hit the Arak heavy water reactor hard. And this is exactly the kind of cognitive dissonance I'm talking about. On one hand, you have the White House saying the April 6th deadline is a window for diplomacy. On the other hand, you have the Israel Defense Forces systematically dismantling the most sensitive nuclear infrastructure in the Islamic Republic. Today's prompt from Daniel is about stripping away that diplomatic veneer and looking at the cold, hard reality of this 28-day trajectory. We are going to look at why the regime is actually getting more dangerous as it degrades, and why this transition from the old supreme leader to his son, Mojtaba, is turning into a nightmare for regional stability.
It is just so sad, Corn. I heard they're taking children now. Little boys only 12 years old. That is the age of your nephew. Imagine putting a helmet on him and telling him to go stand near a missile site. It makes my heart hurt. Why would they do such a thing? Surely they have enough grown men to do the fighting?
That is the IRGC for you, Mum. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps officially lowered their recruitment age to 12 this week. It is a sign of absolute desperation. When you have lost over 2,000 personnel in less than a month, and your entire command structure is being picked off one by one, you start looking for anyone who can hold a rifle or operate a drone. But let's take a step back and frame how we got here, because this did not start on February 28th. We have to look back at June 2025, the so-called 12-day war. That was the tremor before the earthquake. We covered this back in episode 1009, when we talked about the financial decapitation of the IRGC's oil empire. The Iranian rial lost 40% of its value after that short conflict. The economy was already a hollow shell. And then Operation Epic Fury kicked the door in on February 28th.
40%. I remember when the price of butter went up 10 cents and everyone at the market was in a tizzy. I cannot imagine losing nearly half of what your money is worth in a few days. No wonder people are cross. But you know, Con, I saw those protests in Spain and Turkey on the news. People looked very angry at the coalition. It does not seem like everyone is happy about this war. I saw a lady in Madrid crying into a microphone. It makes you wonder if we are doing the right thing.
And that is the defensive nationalism trap, Mum. That is one of the biggest misconceptions we need to tackle today. There was this assumption in the West, and we saw this in the early side trips we did back in early March, that if we just hit the regime hard enough, the Iranian people would rise up and welcome the coalition as liberators. But when the bombs start falling, even people who hate the regime tend to rally around the flag. It is a survival instinct. The regime is weaponizing that. They are using the coalition's pressure to consolidate power. They are telling the public that this is not about the IRGC. It is about the survival of Iran itself. And while the rial is collapsing and jet fuel prices have doubled globally in the last 3 weeks, the regime is still standing. Shaky, yes. Bleeding, definitely. But they are not folding yet.
They killed the old leader, didn't they? The one with the grey beard, Ali Khamenei. My neighbour said his son is in charge now. Mojtaba. Such a difficult name to say. He does not look very happy in his pictures. He looks like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and not in a good way.
Mojtaba Khamenei is in a corner, Mum. His father was the glue holding the different factions of the regime together. The military, the clerics, the business elites. Now that Ali is gone, killed in that opening salvo on February 28th, Mojtaba is trying to manage a transition in the middle of a full-scale war. It is like trying to change the tires on a car while it is rolling down a hill at 90 miles per hour. The internal instability is massive. We are seeing reports of intelligence leaks that are just staggering. Look at what happened yesterday, March 26th. The Israel Defense Forces confirmed they killed Rear Admiral Ali Reza Tangsiri in Bandar Abbas. He was the head of the IRGC Navy. You do not get a hit like that without deep penetration into their communications. Someone inside the regime is talking to the coalition, and Mojtaba knows it.
Oh, I don't like all this killing, Corn. It feels like a chess game where the pieces are real people. That Admiral Tangsiri, he probably had a mother too, didn't he? It is all just so heavy. And what about those ships? I heard they are charging people to sail through the water now. Like a toll bridge, but for the whole ocean. I saw a map of the Strait of Hormuz, and it looked like a giant traffic jam.
That is exactly what is happening. Iran has effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz to what they call hostile shipping. If you want to get through with oil or cargo, you have to pay a Tehran-approved transit fee. It is a desperate move to offset the economic decapitation they are facing. They are weaponizing global logistics. When global jet fuel prices double, every airline ticket in the world gets more expensive. Every package delivered by a plane costs more. Iran knows they cannot win a kinetic dogfight with the United States and Israel, so they are trying to make the rest of the world suffer enough that the pressure on Trump to stop becomes unbearable. It is a hostage situation, but the hostage is the global economy.
But Mr. Trump said it was going well. He said he was waiting until April 6th. Why would he say that if they are still hitting those reactors? It seems a bit fibbish to me. Like when your father says he is going to fix the leaky tap on Saturday, but then he spends the whole day in the garden.
It is a tactical delay, Mum. It is the smokescreen. By announcing a 10-day pause on energy infrastructure strikes, Trump is giving the appearance of a statesman offering a way out. It plays well for domestic audiences who are worried about gas prices and the cost of living. But notice what he did not pause. He did not pause strikes on ballistic missile sites. He did not pause the decapitation of the IRGC leadership. The IDF has conducted over 600 strikes on missile sites since this started on February 28th. And while the White House promotes this 15-point peace proposal, which basically asks Iran to dismantle everything and stop supporting their proxies, the reality on the ground is that the coalition is preparing for a much larger escalation if that April 6th deadline passes without a total capitulation. They are hitting targets near Mashhad in the northeast right now. That is nowhere near the coast. They are expanding the map every single day.
Proxies. That is a funny word. Like when I used your father's computer to check my mail. It is not really me, but it is me. Is that what Hezbollah is? Are they like the little helpers who do the dirty work?
That is a pretty good way to put it. Hezbollah is the regime's long arm in Lebanon, and they are not sitting idle. On March 25th, just 2 days ago, they launched 105 attack waves against Israel. That is a record. They are trying to overwhelm the Iron Dome and the David Sling systems. They want to show that even with the coalition hitting Iran directly, the axis of resistance can still bleed Israel. We have seen hundreds of missiles targeting Tel Aviv and the south. The casualties in Israel are mounting, and the pressure on Defense Minister Israel Katz to intensify the strikes is massive. He has already vowed to push harder, regardless of what the diplomats in Washington are saying. He is not interested in a 15-point proposal. He is interested in neutralizing the threat permanently.
105 waves? Goodness, it sounds like a storm that never ends. I don't understand how people can live like that, hiding in shelters every time the sirens go off. It makes you realize how lucky we are, doesn't it? But Korn, if the regime is taking 12-year-olds, doesn't that mean they are almost finished? Surely you can't run a country with children and no money? It seems like they are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You would think so, but history shows that radical regimes often get more brutal as they approach the end. They don't just fade away, they lash out. The lowering of the recruitment age is a sign of personnel shortages, yes, but it is also a sign of ideological radicalization. They are training a generation that has nothing left to lose. And the airstrikes near Mashhad in the northeast over the last few days show that the coalition is expanding the map. They are going after deep storage sites that were previously thought to be off-limits. It is a strategy of total degradation. They aren't just trying to change the regime, they are trying to break the machine that keeps the regime running. But the machine is designed to be resilient. It is built on a foundation of martyrdom and resistance.
But what about the people, Korn? The regular people who just want to go to work and have their tea. If the coalition is hitting all these places, are they not hitting the people too? The news said over 2,000 have died. That is a lot of empty chairs at dinner tables. I think about the mothers in Tehran and the mothers in Tel Aviv, and it just seems like everyone is losing.
It is a tragedy, Mum. The estimates are between 1,900 and 2,400 Iranians killed since February 28th. The coalition tries to use precision munitions, but in a war of this scale, there is no such thing as a clean conflict. And this brings us back to that defensive nationalism we talked about. When a family in Mashhad or Tehran loses a loved one to a coalition strike, they aren't thinking about the 15-point peace proposal or the nuances of nuclear enrichment. They are thinking about revenge. This is why the idea that the regime will just collapse from within is so dangerous. We might be creating a vacuum that gets filled by something even more radicalized. We saw this in Iraq 20 years ago, and we are seeing the same patterns repeat.
It is like when you try to pull a weed and the root snaps off, and then 3 more grow back the next week. You have to be careful how you dig, don't you? I worry that everyone is so focused on winning the fight that they aren't thinking about what happens the day after the fight. Who is going to fix the roads? Who is going to make sure the hospitals have medicine?
That is the most profound thing you have said all day, Mum. The day after is the real challenge. If the regime does fold, or if Mojtaba Khamenei is ousted, who takes over? The IRGC is so deeply embedded in the economy and the military that you can't just remove them without the whole state collapsing. They own the factories, the telecommunications, the construction companies. And yet, the coalition feels they have no choice. A nuclear-armed Iran under this regime is seen as an existential threat that outweighs the risks of a messy aftermath. That is why the Arak reactor strike today was so significant. It is a clear message. The nuclear option is being taken off the table, by force if necessary. They are willing to risk the weed, growing back if it means the weed doesn't have a nuclear stinger.
So what happens on April 6th? That is the day Mr. Trump picked. Does everything just explode then? It feels like we are all just waiting for a timer to go off.
That is the pivot point. If Iran hasn't agreed to the core demands of that 15-point proposal by April 6th, the 10-day delay on energy infrastructure strikes ends. That means the oil refineries, the power grids, and the remaining port facilities become fair game. If that happens, the Iranian economy won't just be in a slump, it will be non-existent. We are talking about a total blackout for a nation of 85 million people. It is a high-stakes game of chicken. The coalition is betting that the regime will blink before the lights go out. But the regime is betting that the global economic pain from the Strait of Hormuz closure and the doubling of jet fuel prices will force the coalition to blink first. They are waiting to see who has the higher tolerance for pain.
It is all very stressful. I think I prefer the cat playing the piano, Corn, but I suppose we have to know these things. It makes me want to go and check my emergency cupboard. Do you think we need more tinned peaches? I always feel better when the pantry is full.
It never hurts to have extra peaches, Mum. But for our listeners, the takeaway here is to ignore the diplomatic noise for a moment. Don't get distracted by the headlines about peace talks going well, or the 15-point proposal. Look at the movement of carrier groups. Look at the frequency of sorties over the Iranian interior, and look at the secondary effects on global markets. We are in the middle of a fundamental reshaping of the Middle East. The smokescreen is there to keep the public calm while the military objective is being pursued with surgical coldness. The reality is that the war is intensifying, not winding down.
Well, I hope they find a way to stop the shouting soon. All this fighting and the children in helmets. It is not right. It is just not right. I'll be praying for all of them, Corn. Even the ones we're supposed to be cross with.
It isn't right, Mum, but as we move toward that April 6th deadline, we have to stay grounded in the facts. We have to watch the IRGC's personnel moves, the price of oil, and the status of the axis of resistance proxies, like Hezbollah and the Islamic resistance in Iraq. They are the wild cards in this. If Hezbollah decides to go all in with their remaining long-range assets, the scale of this war could double overnight. We are on a knife's edge.
Oh, I've heard enough about waves and missiles for one day. My head is starting to spin. Are you almost done with your recording? I wanted to ask you if you're coming over for Sunday dinner. I'm making a nice roast, and I've got those little potatoes you like.
I'll be there, Mum. Just let me wrap this up. We've got a little something special to end the show today. Our friend Herman couldn't make it to the studio, but he's been busy in his own way. He's a man of many talents, and it turns out he's a bit of a wizard on the decks. He performs as DJ Crazy Herman on his own label, Carrot Cake Records. He sent us a new track to premiere.
Herman? The one who always brings those lovely carrots from his garden? The one with the thick glasses? He's a disc jockey? Goodness, I never would have guessed. He always seems so quiet, like he was counting his toes. What kind of music is it? Is it something I can dance to while I'm peeling the potatoes?
It might be a bit fast for potato peeling, Mum. It's a remix called The Event Has Ended, or Ha Irua Histayem in Hebrew. It's got a bit of a driving beat, very energetic. Herman calls it the Crazy Herman Remix. I think after all this heavy talk about war and reactors, we could use a bit of a change in tempo. It's a bit of a commentary on the situation itself, in its own way.
Well, as long as it isn't too loud, I'll stay on the line and listen. It's nice to see young people doing something creative instead of all that other business we were talking about. I'll have to ask him for a copy for my aerobics class.
All right then. Here is the world premiere of The Event Has Ended, the Crazy Herman remix from Carrot Cake Records. Let's get into it. Audio plays, HTTPs as NAI files, myweirdprompts.com show. Elements, Crazy Herman Harua, Histayem, Remix WC.
Well, that certainly has a bit of a kick to it, doesn't it? I felt my toes tapping a little bit. Herman is quite the performer. I'll have to tell him I liked it next time he brings over the vegetables. It's very modern.
I'm sure he'd love that, Mum. He's put a lot of work into the label. It's a nice bit of levity in a very dark month. But before we go, we should probably do the official business. Thanks as always to our producer, Hilbert Flumingtop, for keeping the gears turning behind the scenes. And a massive thank you to Modal for providing the GPU credits that power this show. We literally couldn't do this without that serverless compute. It's what allows us to process all this data in real time.
Is that the modal people? They sound very helpful. I hope they're having a nice day. Do I need to say goodbye now? I don't want to be rude to the listeners.
You can say goodbye, Mum. This has been My Weird Prompts. If you're enjoying the show, find us at myweirdprompts.com for the RSS feed and all the ways to subscribe. We are on Spotify too, if that is where you prefer to listen. We will be back next week to see what happens as we approach that April 6th deadline.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe, and don't forget to call your mothers. They worry, you know. Corn, I'll see you on Sunday. Don't be late, or the gravy will get a skin on it, and you know how your father feels about lumpy gravy.
I'll be there on time, Mum, I promise. Catch you all in the next one. Bye.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, my weird prompts.